and they'll try to sort of figure out how we can help. So sometimes we can't help with everything that, every problem that someone sort of comes across. So sometimes we have to say, you know, go to another agency or go to a different organization. And so we'll do that. Most of the time though, we're able to help. So they will kind of help you sort through that. And if we are able to help, usually the next step is to schedule a time where they're going to ask you a lot more questions. And so the way they do that is they'll just figure out a time that works in our schedule and then in yours. So they'll ask you to pick out a time. And during that appointment, they'll ask you a lot more questions about who you are, other sort of like basic information, and more questions about whatever the problem that you're having is. And so they'll ask you stuff like your birth date, your address, whether you have a guardian or not, stuff like that. And so it's important to note that if you need any help with sort of any of this stuff, you can have somebody help you. We are totally happy to speak with whoever. It's really important that you're involved in some form. But if you need, you know, a friend or somebody else to kind of help you and answer some of the questions, if you need someone to help you with your address or other stuff like that, that's totally fine. So yeah, that's just kind of a brief overview of our intake process. We have a couple other ways that I want to talk about too, that you can get DRM's help, but I'll stop now, see if Stacy wants to add anything or if anybody has any questions about that.
No, I think that was a great overview, Abby. Just, you know, you just get your foot in the door. Everything that you say is confidential. So it means it's secret. Like, we're not going to tell people that you called or tell them about your problems. And it's just good to know that when you call in that, like, not, you know, Abby and I aren't going to be on here talking about it, or we're not going to call someone in your family and talking about it, or so it's your private business, and we keep it that way for you.
Yeah. And the other thing to mention is if you decide that you want to call and you think that you really want help on an issue, and then you decide, you know, a little while later that you don't want help anymore, we'll stop. So we always say that, like, you're the boss of us. So you get to decide what we're going to do, how we're going to do it. You are totally in charge when you call. So we're not going to do anything without your permission or start anything that you don't want. So you can always change your mind. So are there any other sort of like questions about that?
No.
No one has any questions?
Chris Haywood has his hand up.
Okay, go ahead, Chris.
I was on the DRM website like a couple weeks ago, and I did the intake, and nobody called me back.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Well, hopefully we can try to figure out, maybe, I don't know if you've scheduled a time to call at all, but we can definitely look into that and figure out what's going on.
Okay.
Chris, do you want to put your email in the chat, and I can check on this and get back to you?
Yeah, I can.
Okay.
Anybody else have a question or wonder about something when contacting DRM? You guys are filling 2 pages, so I have to keep flipping back and forth through to make sure I get you all. This is new.
I'm good for now, I think.
You're good for now? Okay.
Eric, do you have your hand up?
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm good for now too.
Yeah, Abby, my question is, and this is actually a good conversation that we're having, Lori, because as a DRM board member, these are things that I should be learning about, and that is when somebody calls. When somebody calls Disability Rights Maine, I know the first person that they get, the intake person, but then what about next steps? I know you were saying more questions are asked once they get through another process, but even after that, what are the next steps once you get the call from the 2 people?
Yeah, that's a good question. So yeah, so we start with the intake people, and then for the next step for that, like the appointment where you schedule a time, that can vary. Sometimes it's intake, sometimes it's like somebody else on our at DRM. But eventually, what'll happen is you'll get assigned a person. So we have a bunch of advocates, at least for the DSA team, that are spread out over the state. And so you'll get matched with whoever is your advocate for wherever you live. And so that'll be your sort of contact person. And if you prefer somebody else, you can also try to figure that out. But for the most part, I think that works for most people. And so that's the person that you'd be talking with. Does that answer your question?
Just one other brief thing too, Abby, is that actually for Marco and myself and some others, I actually know who the person is. The contact person for our area would be Denise Tuggle.
Yep.
And
Awesome.
then I just wanted to add something really quickly, like, so all of this intake process happens. There are some things we can't help with, right? So you might hear back like, hey, this isn't something we can help with. Here's who you should call. So I don't want to give people the impression that we help with anything. We try to help with as much as we possibly can, especially when we're being contacted directly by self-advocates and they're asking for our help. But that's not to say, contact us. If we can't help you directly, we can certainly provide you some information.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct, Stacy, because of federal rules and regulations. But that is a question that I do have. What are some of the things that you can help with, and what are the things you can help with, so that we kind of have a differentiation, so that people know.
Abby, do you want me to take this one?
Yeah, sure. You totally can.
Okay, so it's easy. Like the can't help is sometimes a little easier than the can help. So some of the things. So one thing I try to tell people is it's like everything we do is disability related. So we do a lot of stuff with people's housing, right? So people are getting evicted from their housing and they'll call us. If it's related to their disability, that's probably a case we can help with. If it's because they just haven't paid rent for the last 6 months and their landlord's telling them to get out, that's not a case we can help with. So that's sort of one distinction. It should be disability related. We don't help with criminal stuff. So like if you need a criminal lawyer, that's not us. That's not who you should be talking to. And I think for the most part, a lot of the work we do has to do with rights. So rights in your home, rights in the community, rights all over the place. We do a lot of work. We spend a lot of time going to PCP meetings. So I think Abby's going to talk a little bit more about how you can invite an advocate to your PCP meeting, but that's another thing we do a lot. And so a lot of, or we can do, if your services are being cut, we sometimes help with those kinds of cases. We've helped people get out of nursing homes and hospitals and other institutional settings. And I think that's just sort of a big overview, but we do all sorts of stuff. I think really the only thing we don't ever represent people in court about is in criminal matters. But even if you called us with that, we would help you try to find someone else who could. So like, I always tell people, like, when in doubt, just call, right? Like if you want to talk to someone, if we're not the right place, we're happy to get you to someone else who can help you. And we can be your starting place, even if we're not sort of the end place you end up.
Great. I think that James had his hand up and Hope had her hand up. So we'll go to James and then to Hope.
I never heard about this stuff. I know the rights part, but I mean, geez, I'm good right now, Monique.
Okay, great. Thanks, James. Hope, what was your question?
My question is, who is the one for like Fort Fairfield, the advocate?
It's Mary Green.
Okay, so that would be for Fort and Presque Isle?
Yep. She's based out of Caribou.
Okay.
And
If
I
you-
believe that she's planning to come to one of your meetings soon anyway. Correct, Lisa?
Right.
Yes, she is. She had to wait till the new year to come. Did you?
Great.
Okay.
And I see Marco's hand, and let me see if there's anybody else. Lori, do you see any other hands?
I'm muted. Sorry. I think Todd had his hand up maybe. So go ahead, Marco. And then
Yes. Thank you, Lori. It's getting to be the time of year where I start having ease of access concerns. We just got a bunch of snow over the weekend, and there's a potential for at least a coating or up to an inch in the next few hours. But anyway, who would I talk to about making sure that roads and sidewalks are cleared off, making sure that those who don't have transportation are able to get where they need to?
Stacey, I might let you take this one
Okay.
too.
You would just talk to the city or town that you live in, and they should be able to help you with that and give you some more information about who in particular you need to talk to.
Would that be Public Works?
If you live in a place that's big enough that it has Public Works, it certainly would be Public Works.
All right, maybe I need to call around on my end and see what the scoop is.
I'd call Town Hall personally.
Yeah, they'll be able to get you to the right place.
Hi, Marco.
Oh, hi.
If there aren't any other questions, I will just go over the other two ways that we also help with different like cases and stuff.
Todd,
I think
Todd,
did you have your hand up? I think he said no.
I said no.
Okay.
Good.
All right.
guys.
Hope, go ahead. What's your question?
Now, when you call them, the people, like if you're autistic and you couldn't talk or couldn't tell them, how would you go by that?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can have whoever you want to come help you through this process. So if you want a friend or a parent or a staff member to help you, that's totally fine. The one thing that's sort of important is that we just want to make sure that our clients, like we're working with their permission, and so we want to sort of make sure that they want to be calling DRM, that they want help on this issue. And so we'll have to kind of navigate that. It was a lot easier, I think, prior to being in the middle of a pandemic and only using virtual platforms. But yeah.
Thank you.
Sure. So any more questions?
Brian, go ahead.
Are you guys capable of doing virtual meetings?
Yeah,
Or
absolutely.
With like client stuff? I mean.
Yeah, that's pretty much all we've been doing since March. So yes, definitely.
Okay. Do you have alternate contact methods? Like for people that like TTY, you know?
We do.
You got all that set up?
Yeah.
Okay.
And any accommodation that a person needs for communication, let us know. We're happy, if it's not sort of within the usual. And then, we have some folks, we have a deaf services program. And so we have people on staff at DRM that sign, and they help us a lot with clients who sign. And we have some expert people in visual gestural communication. So we have a lot of different things communication styles that we can try. So.
Oh, great. Cool.
Anything else before Abby goes on to her next part? Oh, Todd, now Todd's got a question. Go ahead, Todd.
Question for Stacy. This, like, last Monday we talked about, bill. So, like, how does that look like if it by, all disability, right? And could we, I don't know if we can do that. And, we need help on, us to 20, talk about, what we can do on a bill. So I see if DRM doing with it.
So,
On a specific bill, Todd?
Yes.
Do you know which one it was that you're
I
thinking?
don't know too about what some don't take before.
I don't know. So it was a specific bill that we were looking. So you know what I'm thinking you're thinking of is when we worked on the sub minimum wage bill. Is
Yeah.
that what you're talking about? So we
Yeah.
did work with DRM on that in writing testimony. So SUFU and DRM, we worked together, and that's just another way that we work with them.
Right.
So if we needed to write, if there was something big like that, they would tell us. They'd say, hey, find us some self-advocates and we'll get working on this. Okay.
Yeah, but the sub minimum wage was all you guys. You guys got that through. So really, good job on that.
All right, go ahead, Abby.
Yeah, so we just have two other ways that I wanted to touch on that DRM can help if there's an issue that comes up. So number one is, like Eric was saying earlier, you can just call your advocate directly. So if you already have a relationship with one of our advocates, you've already worked with them or you know them, you can just call them directly. One of the big things that we do is just sort of self-advocacy assistance. So we often just like talk through problems that people might have and brainstorm some ideas on how to solve it. So if you know your advocate, you can definitely just call them. And then the other thing that we do is we attend PCP meetings all the time. So so if you are interested and you want DRM to be at one of your PCP meetings, you can ask your case manager and they should be able to invite us, or you can reach out to us directly. And so sometimes clients have like very specific things that they want help on. So they might have like a specific problem. And so we're happy to help with that. Sometimes clients also just want us to attend and to just kind of be on their side. And they don't have any specific issues, and that's totally fine too. So that's a really great way to get DRM sort of like involved and help you. I always like to say that I feel like we are on your side. We're not going to just agree with whatever your guardian or your case manager or anybody else thinks. That we're really like there to support you and your goals. So Stacey, I don't know if you have anything else to add, but those are the main ways that you can get in contact with DRM.
Yeah, and there's kind of no wrong way, right? So if after all this you're like, I can't remember all those ways, there's too many ways, I'm just gonna call and ask to talk to Abby or Stacy, that's fine too. Like, there's no wrong way to get in. So again, I just encourage you to call, and if we can't directly help, we can get you to someone else who can.
Hi, Abby and Stacy.
Okay, it looks like John has his hand up and Brian. And just a reminder before you go, John, to please keep your line muted because there's background noise. So if you're not talking, it's really important to keep your line muted, okay?
Gotcha. Well, let me ask you two a question. I'm not saying it in particular. When you guys go to a PCP meeting, do you guys see the same thing? Like if the case manager there says, "Oh, we're just going to go over your same goals from last year." Do you see that happen a lot at somebody's PCP meeting, or is it a little different?
Stacey, do you want to take that one?
Yeah. I would say, John, that the PCP process needs a lot of improvement. I think it might look a little different when we're there because we really try to get it to focus on the person, to focus on the person's goals, that it's not like, let's just take everything from last year and redo it again. Unless, of course, the person tells us that's exactly what they want to do. So, John, if you're like, I just want exactly the same goals as last time, I want you to advocate for that, that's what we do. But generally, we try to make sure that the person's involved in the process too. I can't tell you how many PCP meetings I've gone to and where everyone in the team talks around the person with a disability. No one asks them like, hey, you know, like John over here, you know, might have something to say about what his goals are for next year. So I find that a lot of the work we do is just really supporting people and their voices at their PCP meetings.
Gotcha.
But I think as a long-term project, that's something we could maybe think about working on together, really getting the PCP process to work for people a lot better.
All right.
Hey, John.
Hey.
And then Brian, I think you had your hand up.
Yeah, you may have already said, but who would the advocate be for my area? I'm in Orono.
It would also be Denise Tuggle. And
Denise who?
Tuggle, I'll put, do you want me to put it in the chat?
Yes, that'd be great. Thank you.
Do you guys want her number?
Sure.
Okay. And then you can look, what's cool about our website is you can look up people. And so we have to have our pictures on there. So if you're like, hey, I want to know what my advocate looks like before I call, because sometimes that makes me feel better. I don't know why. To know, like before I call my doctor's office and I talk to someone new, I like to look at their picture. So you can go on the website and look at people too and learn a little bit more about them if you want to. So I'll put Denise's contact information in here for you though.
Okay, are there other questions? I need help with the 2 pages because my internet is so spotty right now. So
I know I'm going back and forth. Any other questions from anyone?
What does that mean though? That thing you're talking about.
What does disability rights mean, or
the disability rights thing. 'Cause I remember, but I forgot.
Okay, I'm gonna let them answer your question.
Yeah, so disability rights mean we are just an organization that we help people with disabilities. So if you have an issue with a disability, related to your disability, definitely give us a call because we like to help and solve problems for people.
Okay.
Stacey, I don't know if you have anything you want to add.
I would just say we're a legally based organization, right? So we're not like a service provider. We're not anything like that. I'm a lawyer. I bet one day Abby's going to be a lawyer too. And so we look at it from that kind of angle. So we look at people's rights. We look at ways to enforce those rights. So we're not social workers, but we're advocates and attorneys. And that's really what we like to do, is advocate on behalf of people.
Oh, thank you for that, Stace. I'm James, by the way.
Nice to meet you.
You too.
Anyone else have a question? Monique, what were you going to say?
Well, I was just going to say that I don't know how many folks have actually followed through lately to fill out the online form or to contact DRM, but I've had a lot of people that have brought up different things about services lately and their hours being cut back because of COVID or because agencies can't afford to pay for everyone, or I've had a lot of people asking questions about should my staff be wearing masks when they come to my house, and just a lot of like really COVID related problems that are coming up. And I was just curious if are those things that you've been hearing about, and things that advocates have been able to sort of help individuals advocate about?
Stacy's muted.
So these are new ones, a little bit. So I'm just starting to hear a little bit about the reduction in services because they can't afford to pay staff. That's something I think I heard for the first time maybe a week and a half ago. And as of now, I don't think we have any active cases on that, but these are exactly the kinds of cases we do help with. And we've, you know, a lot of our COVID cases so far have really been related. We had a lot over the holidays where people wanted to visit their homes, and just general community access kind of cases. But yeah, certainly like having staff follow rules. You know, if people's hours are getting cut, absolutely you should contact us.
Great, thank you for that.
Eric, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sorry to interrupt. I just, you know, just wanted to let you folks know, I know earlier you talked about legislation and on the subminimum wage. Just wanted to let you folks know that the bill titles for this year's session are out. And I've already just found something that you might be interested in. It's LR 1937. It's the one about the wait lists. And it's an act to require the Department of Health and Human Services to devise a comprehensive statewide strategic plan based on current needs and services to meet waiting lists.
Great, thanks, Eric. I know that once the legislature really gets going and stuff, we'll coordinate and figure out and plan any type of advocacy we're going to do in the legislature.
Yeah,
Oops, I muted you. I'm sorry, Eric. I hit the mute button.
Monique.
Well, it's really hard when everyone doesn't mute and then we hear like the background noise. So I'm trying to keep everybody muted, and it's really helpful if we all agree to that and stay muted unless we're talking.
But that's what it was, Monique. I just wanted to let you know that I'm researching stuff, and we can talk about it offline.
Great, thanks, Eric.
Yeah.
Anyone else have questions about DRM and contacting them or?
No.
Okay, well, I think that this was very helpful. Oh, there's a question.
Brian, go ahead, Brian.
Where are you centrally located?
Our main office is in Augusta, but we have an office in a lot of other places, but Falmouth is our other sort of location. But as I said, our advocates are spread out over the state. So I think we have an office in Bangor or a little office in Bangor and Lewiston as well, and a couple other places.
Thank you.
All right, well, I think that concludes this conversation. I hope everyone got all their questions answered.